Historically, the cultural productions of prisoners, the intellectual and creative work of prisoners, have been pivotal in the development of new ideas of punishment and the role of the institution of the prison as a state repressive apparatus. In other words, we've learned that the category criminal, which gets used in all kinds of contexts, is pretty much an empty signifier. And it's been deployed at various times in our history to designate the enemies that are produced by racism, by sexism, by homophobia, by anti-communism, and more generally during this period by the rise of neoliberalism. Many years ago, long before I ever became involved in the anti-prison movement, and that had to be a long, long, long time ago, believe me, because the overwhelming majority of my life has been involved in this work. But I remember when I was in high school, I think it must have been in 1959, I remember seeing a play authored by Jean Genet, the French author. This was, the title of the play was The Blacks, Les Nègres. And I was really totally taken by that play. If you ever have the opportunity to see it or read it, I would recommend it to you. But later I discovered that Genet had spent a great deal of his life behind bars. As a youth at the age of 15, he was sent to a penal colony in France, Mettray penal colony. For years after that, he was in and out of prison, and he wrote his first poem in prison. As a matter of fact, his first poem was called Le Condamné à Mort, the condemned, the person who's condemned to death. And he also wrote his first novel in prison. Having been convicted many times, I think he got something like 10 convictions. At one point, he was facing a life sentence. And a number of intellectuals and artists, as a matter of fact, Pablo Picasso was one and Jean-Paul Sartre was another, got together and organized this amazing international campaign to prevent Jean Genet from going to prison for life. Now, Genet is recognized today, he died in 1986, I think it was 1986 or 1987. He's recognized as one of the most prominent creative writers in France's history. Genet also played a major role in the emergence of the LGBT movement. He was a well-known supporter of the Black Panther Party. As a matter of fact, in I think it was 1969, he walked across the border in Canada without a visa because he wanted to come to support Bobby Seale and Erica Huggins, and I had the opportunity to meet him for the first time then. Genet also was a strong supporter of the Palestinian people at a time when they were, and of course they continue to be, demonized as terrorists. And I should say that I myself owe a debt of gratitude to him for all of the work he did around my case when I was in jail, and for the contributions he made to the campaign to free George Jackson and the Soledad brothers. So I've told the story of Jean Genet. How many of you have read his work or are aware of him? Okay. I've told this story because I think it offers us insight into the human capacity and creative talent that has been locked away in the world's prisons. What if Genet had never been released from prison? Then the world would not have been able to benefit from his incredible ideas and his art.